Welcome back. This is Jeff Breedlove here with the advocacy update on the recovery report, and I'm visiting with our executive director, Neil Campbell. Neil, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
Happy to do it. Thanks, Jeff.
You know, we're here at it's the first edition in 2020, and 2020 is a very special year for the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. Tell us what's so special about 2020.
So this is our 20th anniversary of being a nonprofit in Georgia, being the voice of substance use disorders and recovery in the state. So we're really excited about this year.
You know, Neil, that's a tremendous milestone. You've been the cornerstone of this organization, a true leader for recovery in Georgia, and for any nonprofit to achieve 20 years of leadership and stability is great. Thank you for your leadership, and I know that others have helped you do that, both on the staff and around Georgia, but it's just a tremendous accomplishment for 20 years. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to our board of directors. We have some longtime board members that have been with us since day one that really are the essence of what community collaboration is. And so the Georgia Council has been around because of a number of people, like you said. We're really excited.
And I know throughout this 12 months, there'll be some different celebrations and observations of it, and we'll keep everybody informed when we do those things. But we want to have a little celebration of 20 years.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a big milestone for us.
Now, 2020 is important for another reason too. It's a presidential election year. Georgia has 2 Senate seats that will be on U.S. Senate seats that will be on the ballot. So advocacy at all levels is going to play an important role. But right now, this is airing on the first day of the Georgia General Assembly session. So let's focus a little bit on our state legislature and our state policy issues. So we begin the session this year with the news that maybe the big overriding issue for across the board, not just for recovery, but for everybody, is the budget.
Right, that seems to be, it's going to be our main focus when we're there at the Capitol, when we're monitoring the budget, the hearings that they're having. What we want to make sure is that we have legislators and policymakers who are supporting a recovery positive agenda. We do not think that anything should be cut from our budget. In fact, we think it should be enhanced. The issue of substance use disorder prevention, treatment, and recovery hasn't gone away. We still need to be advocating for policies that make sense for Georgia, laws that make sense for Georgia. So we'll be watching the budget really closely. You know,
I know that you go out to a lot of events, I go to a lot of events, and I have a sense that people understand there's a difference between wants and needs. And a lot of friends and allies of ours have a lot of things they want, but this is a crisis, an epidemic, and we need to save lives. And so we love that our legislators are tackling the tough issues, but wouldn't it be true that this would be, in the middle of an epidemic, a need that we have?
Absolutely. Between 3 and 4 Georgians a day are dying of overdose. That's not even talking about the impact that people who have trouble with alcohol, or we're losing those on a daily basis as well. We're seeing a lot of that, especially in our programs that we have in the emergency room and the neonatal intensive care unit up in Gainesville, Brazelton, and Winder, Georgia. So we want to be able to talk about the impact, the positive impact those programs are having, and that we have a need to expand, not just expand those, but to enhance those and to enhance our knowledge about recovery.
And we see, and I'm sure we'll talk in future episodes about this, but the evidence is just, you can't dispute it. These programs save lives.
They save lives, and they are a good investment. You get a return on your investment. When people get into recovery, they, number one, commit less crimes. They have better mental health. We have better, they get and stay employed. They live above the poverty level. It's just a good idea. It makes good sense for individuals, families, and communities.
And whether it's the CARES alumni around the state, a statewide network, whether it's a warm line serving the entire state, whether it's hospitals in rural Georgia, and whether or not it's an RCO in communities, over 30 of them all across the state, these programs are important to every part of Georgia.
They are. It's not just a Metro Atlanta issue. We have people, we have a recovery support warm line, the CARES warm line, and we get calls from people who live in isolated areas. They're just lonely. They just need a little encouragement, a little bit of coaching, and they're very, very isolated from programs and services, but they can call the peer support warm line and get some unconditional regard, get some compassion, and get some wisdom about people who have been there before.
So it's a true statewide effort.
It is.
And it's very important. Now, there'll be some specific legislation we'll talk about in the future. We know that In fact, I think we want to congratulate Representative Eric Allen and the bipartisan members that have started. For Georgia, it's a first, and they'll be talking about it more, but it's a official working group on addiction and recovery made up of members of the State House and State Senate. That's a tremendous movement forward in Georgia.
Yeah, and we're hoping that it sort of becomes the hub of where this type of legislation can originate, can get parked, or can get advocated for. We're really looking forward to that, to having a working group just specifically for recovery.
And there's one or two coming up in the near future that will be unveiled by some of the members that will be very exciting for the recovery community.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
So looking beyond those exciting things coming up and the budget, we'll have a strong presence at the state capitol this session, thanks to your vision and your leadership. Specifically, we've got, of course, let's start with our very, very important event. ARAD 2020 is coming up. It's Tuesday, January 28th. We'll open registration at 9 a.m., kick the program off at 10 a.m. at the depot.
Yep.
About noon, we'll start heading up for the 1 o'clock recovery rally inside the state capitol at the South Steps. So it's going to be a tremendous event, followed at 2 p.m. by a new hearing that will take place of the working group. So tell us, from your perspective, some stuff about ARAD 2020 and why it's going to be very awesome.
Well, it's the second year we're in the freight depot across the street from the Capitol, so I think that's exciting. We had over 750 people show up last year. We're hoping for 1,000 this year. There's going to be a proclamation read in the Senate and the House to honor people in recovery and our families and our allies. It's the 11th year we've been doing this work, and we started off small and we get bigger every year. So it's a time when the focus is people in recovery and the people who love us, and that's something that had never happened before. So we're really excited about that. And
we've got some great speakers. We will be announcing them formally, but state constitutional officers, elected officials, peers in recovery telling their stories. We've got RCO leaders talking about RCOs. We've got dancers and all.
We have a mime.
We have a mime, and we have some. I don't even know what the program is, but Rise is putting together a special artistic presentation.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot for everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be something for everyone, and just to come and hang out. And if you've never been to an Addiction Recovery Awareness Day, please come. You cannot imagine the amount of energy that hundreds and hundreds of people in recovery can generate about their own issues, and it's really exciting.
And to leave ARAD for a minute, I will say this. It's free to attend,
yes, but
we encourage you to sign up, and on Monday, on today, there'll be a link on our social media. So please sign up, but if you don't sign up, don't hesitate to show up. But we hope you'll sign up, and we want to be able to tell the politicians and the businesses that we know there was over 1,000 people.
The first 700 people to register get lunch, so make sure you do that. If you want to eat, we'll feed you boxed lunches and put on a really good show, and you can be part of it. It's very interactive. You'll learn how to message effectively to your legislators, to be able to use language that has been proven to be something that helps change people's minds and look at us in a different way and reduce that stigma, because that's ultimately what we're about.
Now, you and I will be there actually on Sunday night. So last night we were at the magic of video. But what we are attending is the Wild Hog Supper. Is a long-standing tradition, decades old in Georgia, where they get together in the depot the night before the session, and just to begin to increase our presence in new places, we're attending the Wild Hog Supper this year.
We are, because of, we have someone on our staff who loves barbecue and loves wild hog.
Don't know who that is.
That would be Jeff. But we are attending that. We want to have a presence. We have people that we that need to hear our message and that need to get to know us better, and that's one way to do it. If you know anything about the Georgia Council, we are all about relationship building, and we want to expand our circle every year.
Now, looking ahead, on tomorrow, on Tuesday the 14th, we will be at a breakfast panel with our friends with the Georgia Healthy Future.
Yeah, Georgians for a Healthy Future.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, we've been long-standing partners with Georgians for a Healthy Future. They are a healthcare advocacy organization that does incredible work, and we have had some partnerships around the Medicaid redesign. We've had partnerships around the ESPERT projects, and they've just been long-standing effective advocates for people with substance use disorders, for mental illness, as well as for general health care.
And just to give you an example of the other types of events we'll be going to, later in February will be Rural Health Day at the state capitol, and we'll be down there just showing our support and building relationships with those stakeholders from around Georgia. And we'll be at all kinds of events like that this session, which leads us to, as we conclude this segment, Neil has had a vision that she allowed us to put into place to build a statewide advocacy network for recovery leaders. And you've led us with a network of 20 of these that you've allowed to happen around the state. We've got a lot of folks, but we need people to keep joining and to keep getting involved.
We do. I mean, I get a hold of my own representatives because I am their constituent, and so my voice matters to them. My voice doesn't matter to someone from, Waycross or Hayhira because I don't vote for them, but you do. There are people out there who do, and that's really important that they get to know, especially get to know someone in recovery and get to see what the difference and the benefits of recovery have been in your family and in your life. So we want to create a network of people all around the state that can talk to their individual legislators. So Jeff has had a series of advocacy events around the state just to get to know people. Again, a lot of what we do is listen, and we want to lift up recovery and let people know that from Lafayette down to Brunswick and everywhere in between, there is recovery. And we know that. We know it for sure.
And if you want to get involved, during the session, we're not going to have as many in-person ones. We might have a couple, but we're going to have some through the Zoom system. And if you email me or contact me on any of our social media platforms and just say, hey, Jeff, I want to get on the email list for advocacy and want to get involved, we'll get you right on the list. You'll be invited to call in on the Zoom things, or we'll tell you when we're doing them in person. We'll be sending out updates of when we're going to be at the Capitol where we might need a few people. And you can just get as involved as you want to be.
You can, and there's no excuse not to connect because we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those things. You can pick up a regular rotary phone and call us at our offices. There's no reason not to connect. There really is no reason for our voices not to be heard anymore as people in recovery. If you need, there still is stigma out there, but let us help you break those walls down if you're still feeling like you can't speak out about your recovery. We can teach you ways to do that, or we can just come in and be with you as you do that for the first time. So that's why this session is going to be exciting. I think we'll see one of the things I love most about Addiction Recovery Awareness Day is watching people walk into their state capitol for the first time and say, oh my gosh, this is where it happens. This is where laws get made. And these are laws that impact us and impact our families. And we should have a voice, and we have a right to know how that's all happening. So no excuses. You can plug in with us, and we'll be with you 100%.
So thank you so much for Neil for giving us a little 2020 advocacy update. We'll try to get Neil as much as her schedule will allow through the General Assembly. We'll be doing special short version, like 1 or 2 minute things, sometimes live from the state capitol when I'm down there or when Neil's down there. So there'll be a lot of updates on advocacy throughout the session on our social media platforms. So definitely look for those. And the last thing I want to say is we're also looking, if you know something going on that you care about, that you think ought to be addressed by our leaders, please let us know. We don't read every newspaper in the state. We don't see the local news outside of Metro Atlanta necessarily every day. So we're relying on our network of recovery peers and leaders and champions around the state to say, hey, maybe we need to do something about this. So we listen. We need your leadership. We're thankful for your help and your support. And as we always say, recovery is real.